Triangles, a digital lesson. The lesson starts with just explaining that there are two different ways that we define triangles. One is by the measurement of their angles, and the other is by the length of their sides. So if we're defining them by the measurement of their angles, we can have an acute triangle, which means three angles that are less than 90 degrees, a right triangle that has one angle that's exactly 90 degrees, and an obtuse triangle with one obtuse angle that's larger than 90 degrees. If we define a triangle by the length of its sides, we can have an isosceles triangle where two sides are equal measurement, equilateral where all three are equal measurement, or scalene with none of the sides equal. So students are going to use the draw line tool here, and they're going to take these two classifications of a triangle, and they're going to use a line to connect the type of triangle to its visual. So we come up here to line, click on line, and you get a little plus sign. So wherever you want the line to start, you just click there. And you get a line that looks like this, and it has two little blue circles. Now they can play around with this, and they can change the color of the line and the thickness of the line if they like. So here, if we want to move this line, we just click and hold on this blue circle, and then we can move it where we like. So we're looking for an equilateral acute. So they just stretch it here. And if I want another line, I can just Control D and duplicate. And then we just click and hold on the blue circle. We're looking for isosceles right. And so on. And so they're going to connect all of these terms to the correct visual. Now they're shown what to do when they have a missing angle in a triangle. They're going to use algebra in order to solve for the missing angle. So one of the things they need to learn is that all three angles of any triangle are going to add up to 180 degrees. So here, if we have a 70 and a 45 and we have a missing angle, we can just set up an algebraic equation. So these three angles have to add up to 180 degrees. And we're going to use x as a variable for the missing angle. So we're just going to combine like terms first. We get 115 plus x equals 180. We subtract 115 from both sides. We're going to get the missing angle of 65 degrees. And then here's another example. 85 plus 50 plus x equals 180, and we just solve for x. Now, starting on slide 8, students are going to be typing in the text boxes to solve the algebra. So here, this one, the equation's already set up for them. 40 plus 70 plus x. They're going to add 40 and 70, and they get 110. So they're going to type that in. And they're going to subtract next. They're going to subtract 110 from both sides. And you can see that what they're subtracting is in red. And then they solve for x. So they get an angle of 70 degrees. Now, the next slide, they're going to have to do the problem all on their own. Now, here they have a right angle, so that means they need to know that one of those angles is 90 degrees. So they type in 90, they know one is 40, and the other one is x. And then they're just going to follow the steps to solve for x. Same thing on the next slide. They've also got a right angle, so they need to know that one of the angles is 90 degrees. Now here's one that's a little bit more complicated. They've got two angles that are unknown. They know that one is 90 degrees because it's a right angle, and they have x and x plus 2. So if they add them all together, they get x plus 2 plus 90 equals 180. So they combine like terms, they get 2x. They combine like terms here, and they get 92. And then they've just got a two-step equation to solve. Now here they have solved in the previous slide, they've solved for x. So now they're going to just type in the measurements of the three angles. So we know the right angle is 90. We know what x is from the previous slide, and then we're just going to add 2 to that to get the angle that's x plus 2. And this one's a little bit different, x and x minus 2. So they're going to add them all together, get 180, combine like terms, and then solve for x. So on the next slide, they know what x is, and they're going to solve for the known angle. This is 56, so they just type in 56, and then x minus 2. They're just going to take whatever their value for x is and subtract 2. Now on the final slide, they've got 3 challenge problems they can use scratch paper to solve. They're given a scenario here. The angles of a triangle are 80, 65, and x. What does x equal? So the first 2 are pretty simple. They just use algebra. And the third one's a little bit of a challenge because one of our angles is 5x. So they're going to have to set up their algebra problem and solve. So this is Lesson on Triangles, digital.